Hello friends, for the past 2 months the world has been hoping to avoid one word, a word that brings back memories of job losses, market crashes and uncertainty. But now the dreaded word has arrived, recession. According to JP Morgan, one of the world's biggest banks, the United States will officially enter a recession by the end of 2025. The United States economy is not just slowing, it is predicted to shrink by minus 0.3%. And remember this, when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. But now JP Morgan says America is not just sneezing, it's collapsing onto the bed. Markets are falling, panic is rising. But why is this happening? What exactly is a recession? Why is it dangerous? And how will it affect India and Indians? Let's break it all down. Stay with us till the end. What is a recession really? In simple terms, a recession is when a fast-growing economy suddenly starts to slow down. But economists use a more specific definition. If the GDP contracts for 2 consecutive quarters, it's officially called a recession. For example, in late 2007, the growth of US economy slowed down quarter by quarter from 5% to 4.8%. If earlier it was growing at the rate of 5%, now it is still growing, but at the rate of 4.8%, at a reduced percentage. Then in 2007-8, it fell even further to 3.4%. So that kind of severe slowdown in the market marked the start of the 2008 global financial crisis. Now, history seems to be repeating. JP Morgan predicts that in 2025, the United States GDP will fall by 1% in Q3 and by another 0.5% in Q4. So friends, this is the signal that a recession is on the way. Why recessions are so dangerous? Imagine a bus speeding at full throttle and suddenly it hits the brakes. In such scenario, what will happen inside? Everyone and everything trembles, right? That's exactly what happens to the economy during a recession. GDP falls, jobs vanish, spending drops, companies stop hiring, banks reduce lending. A chain reaction begins. When people spend less, demand falls. When demand drops, companies cut production. With lower production, they lay off workers. Unemployment rises. This causes even less spending. That cycle worsens. This is called vicious cycle of economy. JP Morgan believes the US is entering this vicious loop, and this time it points fingers at one man, Mr. Donald Trump, the President of the United States. Trump's tariffs triggering trouble. Recessions can start for many reasons. High inflation, rising interest rates, pandemics, wars, or banking collapses. But JP Morgan says this time it's Trump's trade policies doing the damage. President Trump has announced 10% universal tariffs on all imports, and he has also announced reciprocal tariffs on more than 12 countries, which is even higher. This doesn't just hurt foreign goods, even American goods become expensive because the United States depends on imported raw materials. When input costs rise, companies hike prices, inflation rises, demand falls, spending slows, and this will push the United States into the recession. The numbers paint a dark picture. JP Morgan has slashed its 2025 growth forecast from plus 1.3% to minus 0.3%. that is not just mere slowdown in the growth, it is actually the negative growth. Unemployment currently at 4.2% in the US, that could jump to 5.3%. That means 1.7 million Americans could lose their jobs. Core inflation may rise from 2.8% to 4.4%. It will make essentials unaffordable. And JP Morgan isn't alone. Goldman Sachs, Fitch, HSBC, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, UBS, everybody is warning about the arrival of a high-risk recession. If America falls, the world shakes. Friends, the United States is not just another economy. It's the largest consumer market on earth. Out of the $70 trillion spent worldwide in a year, $28 trillion is spent by Americans alone. That's 30% of the global demand. So if Americans stop spending or if they reduce spending, global exports take a direct hit. Export-driven economies like Mexico, China, Canada, and even India will suffer. And it doesn't end there. Global stock markets are already falling like house of cards because the economy of entire world is linked with the economy of United States. When American stocks crash, foreign investors panic everywhere. The dollar, ironically, gets stronger in such times, and that creates currency chaos, especially for import-dependent countries like India. Impact on India, why we can't escape. Friends, if the United States heads into a recession, India won't be immune fully. Our economy is deeply intertwined with theirs. Apart from Europe and Gulf, the United States is one of India's biggest trading partners. Our bilateral trade crosses $130 billion. Out of this, India exports goods and services worth $88 billion to the United States. We have a huge surplus with the US in this trade. A large portion of these exports are from IT services. India's IT capital Bengaluru is thriving and surviving on IT money. Major American tech firms depend on Indian giants like TCS, Infosys, and Wipro. In fact, nearly 70% of India's IT exports go exclusively to the US. Now consider this. The IT sector contributes around 7 to 10% of India's GDP. So if American companies cut back on outsourcing or tech upgradation, it would hit Indian IT firms directly. Fewer contracts, fewer projects, and soon the threat of layoffs. And friends, this isn't just speculation. We have already seen early signs. When Trump recently announced fresh tariffs, IT stocks in India were the worst hit, falling nearly 6% in a single day. But it's not just IT that's vulnerable. Sectors like pharmaceuticals, textiles, and jewelry could also suffer as United States demand declines. And globally, if markets grow unstable, foreign investors might withdraw from Indian equities and move to safer US bonds, which they have already been doing through the last 6 months. Now, the exodus of foreign investors may get even a bigger momentum due to this crash. This would trigger stock market volatility here in India. The rupee would also come under pressure. A stronger dollar and falling investor confidence could weaken the rupee. And since India imports a lot, especially oil and electronics, a weaker rupee means import inflation will rise. Fuel, transport, and essential goods could all become more expensive. In short, a recession in the United States isn't just America's problem. It could cause a ripple effect that severely disrupts India's economy too. Recession-proofing yourself. What you can do? Friends, we can't stop global recessions, but we can prepare for them. There are some practical steps you can take, but as I already told you, it's a vicious cycle of economy that starts rolling when recession happens. So the steps I am going to list now also symptoms that an economy is in recession. But there are no other ways. We have to avoid unnecessary loans. We have to stay away from EMI traps. We have to build an emergency fund, at least 3 to 6 months of monthly expenses. We have to upskill ourselves, especially in AI, tech, and data. And we should not panic and sell during market crashes. Think long term, and if you have any cash left, you can slowly deploy, slowly you can deploy to buy good quality companies and mutual fund units at attractive prices. Also, you can explore side income possibilities. Now you may say, during recession main income itself hang in balance. Where we are gonna find side incomes? But we have to try, friends. And we should track inflation, spend smart. We should avoid luxury expenses. This is for middle class and poor people. But if you are a rich fellow who has endless surpluses, then you have to splurge. You have to spend really well so that you can contribute to lift up the economy. Because if rich people also stop spending fearing recession, then this economy could never wake up again. Friends, what do you think on this? Is India ready to face a global recession? Is the world ready? What might happen within the United States? Already it looks like something is brewing in the United States. People are hitting the streets. Signs of unrest is already there in the United States. People are talking about United States Congress intervening and stopping Donald Trump from this madness of tariffs. But what are the possibilities? What do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Keep looking for better. Let's meet again. Namaste.